Okay. Joa. Ja, also, im Moment erstmal Konzentration auf das da hier. Refugee Story. Weil das läuft ja hat ja Zeitlimit. Okay, was er für Flotilla. Jo. Was haben wir eigentlich? Wenn es gut läuft, you find an outlet valve behind a web of sensors. Delicately, you begin filling a tank. It gives you a thumbs up. This is working. Okay. Das ist... okay. Da müssen wir genau warten. Beziehungsweise können wir hier ein bisschen vorantreiben. Okay. Geh mal. Was? Complete active scenes? Aren't finished with the cycle. Complete active scenes to proceed. Wait. Ach, okay. Müssen wir wohl doch zum Bliss hoch. Oder? Nee. Läuft. Läuft das auf Zeit? Sacrifice section, vendor section, and you have a better chance of saving the remaining crops. But you will lose some in the process. The question is how many. Fragile biome, sycamore seeds, internal biome is in trouble. Every action will bring it closer to collapse. Sycamore seed needs to be reinforced and sealed, otherwise the crop will be lost. Reinforced bulkheads. Welding in a zero-G farm is tricky. The torch, the heat, the sealant, everything can damage the crop you're trying to save. Okay. Noch was aktiv? Das nicht. Lem. Shipyard. The crowds have already gathered by the time you get to the shipyard, and you recognize faces among them. People you've worked alongside on the side reel. The intervening cycles have turned their excitement to anxiety, and few of them smile at you. Instead, the nervous energy of the crowd fills the space, creating a feedback loop of growing tension. You pick out Lem and Mina and work your way over to them, pushing through the crowd. He suddenly raises his eyebrows at you, his anxiety obvious. But Mina flashes you a huge smile, unaware of the tension. "What?" she shouts, reaching out to you. "Hug." She gratefully accepts your hug, leaning against your chest. And Lem smiles, seemingly glad to share the weight of Mina for a moment. "Quite a turnout, huh?" Lem glances around, pulling Mina close. "I don't think patience is one of the crowd's strengths." The sound of an argument towards the back catches your and Lem's attention. He is putting it lightly. This place seems set to explode. "They'll manage them." Lem looks around nervously. "I sure hope so." This is Esther Enghard of the Studies Foundation. The announcement echoes from the speakers at the shipyard entrance, and shouts of "quiet" rapidly follow. "I'm sorry I can't be there to meet you all, and thank you on behalf of Senator Zealous for the work you have done on the sidereal horizon." Most of the crowd strains to see Esther's face, but the small display shows only a ghostly white figure, smudged and unclear. Spricht man den Sender Sondre? Gibt's den Namen? Sendre. Okay, es gibt das französische Cendré. Französisch für Asche.
Une cendre.
Cendre. Moment, hä?
Une cendre.
Cendre. Wieso wird mir... Moment. Ah. Ah, okay. Es gibt Cendre. Anscheinend. Als Substantiv für Asche und es gibt Cendré als Adjektiv für Aschfarben. Beispiele: aschblond, aschblonde Haare, fahles Licht. Ah, aschblond ist blond cendré. Okay. Okay, ich nenne ihn einfach Cendre. Cendre wanted me to pass on her... Frau. Her personal thanks for your commitment to and belief in the Celis Foundation's mission. We chose the Eye for this project because we knew that we would find like-minded individuals here, especially among the ranks of the Venerable Havenage Association. Unlike most of the Corps, we neither believe Erlin's Eye to be a threat or a rogue state, but instead an embryo for the formation of a new, decentralized social structure. One where each citizen might be the master of their own destiny. A ripple of impatience runs through the crowd. They didn't come here for a sermon. You're all pioneers, just like those core citizens who the sidereal horizon will carry in cryosleep to the planet that will become the Foundation's first frontier world, Celis 1. At the mention of the destination world, excited conversations break out among the workers. There, our citizens will be able to create their own innovative bottom-up economic order aligned with the principles set down by Sandra Célie herself. Freedom, resilience, and self-sustenance. This is all thanks to your tireless efforts in the Havenage yards. As a reward for those efforts, you may know that we are offering a select group the opportunity to join the caretakers of this vision, the staff of the Sidereal Horizon who will maintain the vessel during its multi-decade transit through interstellar space. Lem turns to you, his eyes bright. This is it. This draw has been performed at random by the central AIs of the Foundation and is final and binding. Please note, only licensed contractors of the Foundation are eligible for this draw. I know you have all been eagerly awaiting this day, and without further delay, I will now read the seller's identification numbers of those chosen for this great honor. A murmur runs through the crowd. Seller's identification numbers? Licensed contractors? You've never even heard the term mentioned. Is this something you were supposed to be assigned? You glance at Lem, but his eyes are fixed forward, white and shimmering. All around you, people are speaking in hushed tones, like a rising wave. Esther starts reading out sequences of numbers and letters, and panic begins to set in. No one seems to know what is happening. Somewhere near the front of the crowd, someone shouts in celebration, and everyone pushes forward. Lem? You turn to see Lem still staring forward. Mina is scared now, as the shouts start. Daddy? Someone throws something at the entrance, and it rattles against the shipyard doors. You see, for the first time, Havenage security stood on either side, scared, arguing between themselves. You feel the anger rising in the crowd. Lem, let's go. He doesn't move. They might call out names. I can't. Mina tugs at his dog tags. It's not happening. Lem blinks rapidly and then turns to you. He opens and closes his mouth and looks down at Mina. He sees the fear in her eyes and understands. It's time to go. You lead Lem and Mina out, shoving people aside. As you do, you hear the sound of scuffles emerging at the front of the crowd, of metal canisters bouncing off the shipyard walls. You keep your head down and walk away. The sound of Esther reading off the ciphers echoing above the chaos like some strange mantra. When I turn to Lem, there are tear tracks running down his cheeks, and Mina is sniffling into his jacket. You feel a sadness rising in you too. They screwed you. Screwed all of you. You were never even on a list. The feeling is as unpleasant as it is familiar. You stare ahead into the tunnel as the security sirens sound out, a signal for the coming violence. Moving the horizon. Settlers are apparently going to start moving the Sidereal Horizon to the hub soon. There's a note on the door of the unit. Sleeper, gone to find work. Blair. Complete active scenes. Immer noch? Sleeper. Peak catches your attention from the shadowy corner they were leaning against. Any trouble getting up here? None. Good to hear. Come, take a look at this. They beckon you over to a nearby window, which looks across the ruined ring to the blinking red lights of the Havenage cordon. The cordon's temporary structures are net of metal struts meant to detect and dissuade any ships from entering or leaving the flotilla jet out into the black, and all around the tugs flit, securing them in place and tending to the red blinking drones that demark the quarantine. It's an impressive and worrying sight. What do you think? Peak interrupts your thoughts. How would you get through? Okay, Moment. Lit. Huschen, wandern, flitzen. Ah. Tugs. Let's securing them in place and tending to the red blinking drones that demand. Use one of the tugs. As an escort, you mean? I doubt we could fit all the supplies on one of those tugs. But if it seemed like the Briar was being officially escorted through the cordon, he squints at the red lights. But then we'd be stuck inside. Pig turns away from the window and rubs the forehead. Ash has really wrapped us up in something here, hasn't she? Question is spoken under their breath, and they don't seem to expect an answer. The silence grows. Are there other options? If you've got them, I'm happy to hear them. Pig smiles. The way I see it, there are 3 parts to making it through that cordon. They gesture out the window at the strange structure. Deception, distraction, and speed. We'll need all of them for a clean passage through. Deception means tricking the cordon's security into thinking that we are meant to be there. Maybe a tug escort would work. Anything that makes the Briar look official. Distraction, meanwhile, will be all about diverting attention so that no one looks too hard at what the Briar is doing. If we can create a gap in the cordon scanning and deterrent systems, that should keep them busy. Finally, speed. Will mean making sure the Briar is ready to roll. Perhaps we can do a little work on the ship to get her ready? Ash surely wouldn't mind. They lean back from the window. How does it sound? Risky. Well, they smile. Yes, there's always going to be a risk. That's how this works. You've got to be on board with that. He looks down at their slate. 10 cycles left. They glance out of the window at the cordon nervously. 10 cycles to gather the supplies and to prep this plan. It's tight. Very tight. Peak looks at you. If this goes wrong, Peak sighs. Just get out, okay? They squeeze your shoulder. I'll follow Ash anywhere, but you don't need to get dragged down with us. It won't come to that. Peak brightens up a little. Of course, but just keep it in mind. Let's get to it. Peak stretches. I'll tell Ash about the improvements to the Briar, and the rest. Let's explore the cordon as best we can and look for openings. I have no idea what guardian angels sent you to us, Sleeper. Peak smiles, but I'm very glad they did. Oh, noch mehr Arbeit. Cordon into... And in with a crew, one thing about being a sleeper is people always assume you are working. So blending in with the tug crews shouldn't be too tough. Intercept comms. The cordon buzzes with radio transmissions and data packets. Intercepting them will help give you a sense of how things run here. Cordon Intel, you and Peak need to get a sense of how the Haven Edge operation works before you can prepare your plan to slip through it. Und das ist +2. Okay, brauche ich 3 positive. Hier irgendwie was. Kurz noch zu Memphis gehen. Carefully and attentively and managed to maximize the yield of the stack with little or no wastage. I can fully harvest edible algae to ship to the refugee flotilla. Even Ash admits it has a pleasant earthy taste. Okay. Nice. Ah, nicht nice. Fucking Glück. Glück im Unglück. Wait, what? Crew Canteen? What? Take escort. Crew willing to escort the Briar through the quarantine will give the ship a better chance of passing the cordon without any trouble. Having its suspicion not across the cordon, having its security keeping a close eye on things gain their attention and you struggle to maintain access. Convince a crew with division rival among the division rife among the tug crews. Getting support for supply shipment will just be a case of picking the right crew and approaching them discreetly. Deflect suspicion, taking hardline attitudes, loudly arguing in favor of the quarantine, making friends with security. There are ways to deflect suspicion. Blind spot. Creating a blind spot in accordance perimeter will give the Briar a better chance of evading detection when Ash makes a run. Sabotage sensors. Some careful sabotage to the cordon's systems should create a sensor gap that will allow the Briar to bypass the automatic quarantine systems. Briar upgrade. The kind of thrusters the tugs use will give the Briar improved maneuvering, useful in the cramped quarters of the flotilla. Slice thrusters. The tugs have a powerful suite of iron thrusters for rapid maneuvering. If you can sneak in and slice some off, you'll have a significant upgrade for the Briar. Oh, ist das überhaupt mathematisch machbar, alles zu schaffen? Okay, also mit dem Wasser sind wir fast fertig. Mit dem Essen haben wir angefangen. Oh, Mann, ey. So. Dollar. Richtig geplant, kann es klappen. Ja, ist halt. Steckt halt auch viel. Ein ganzes Stück Glück mit drin, dass man halt gute Abwürfe hat. Teller comes to you one shift when the bar is empty, tapping you on the shoulder as you clean the bar. It's ready. She's grinning from ear to ear. Can I try? Obviously. She grabs you by the arm before you can ask anything else and drags you into the back room. The smell hits you immediately when you enter a cocktail of rich fermentation and chemical sharpness. The room is warm and bright now, the newly installed lights making the place look clean, whether it is or not. Thala has already pulled up a couple of stools around a metal crate, where two glasses with a few fingers of pale gyro inside sit waiting. She smiles. I haven't even tried it yet. You can see she is nervous. You both sit at the makeshift table, the slight strangeness of the situation making you both jumpy. Thala hands you a glass. Cheers, she says solemnly and knocks the glass back. You do the same. The first sensation is burning. A sharp, nose-clearing blast of alcohol that has your frame querying whether you would like to activate safe mode. You gulp the drink back, and it is only then, behind the burn, that you taste the earthy tones of the mushrooms, the wood and the soil, left behind like sediment, barely there. That's strong. Tara nods vigorously. That was heavy. Has promised, though. You think? She swirls the glass and puts it down. Wait, I have an idea. Tara grabs a metal bottle from the newly installed work surface and adds a few drops of water into the gyro. Try again? This time the burn is warming glow, harsh but fading off, and the woodiness less heavy. You taste something floral in among the marshy decay, something fresh and bright that you never expected to find. Both you and Tala meet eyes. It's really good, right? It is. Tala grins with her whole face, and that makes you smile too. Tala pours out some more gyro and then adds some more water. The action's already taking on the quality of a ritual. You both drink. Tala tucks her feet up beneath her on the stool, folding her legs. She looks down into a glass and swirls the liquid thoughtfully. What's on your mind? Tala looks up at nothing in particular. My father opened this place, you know, she says out of nowhere, a thought suddenly becoming words. It was his attempt at making a life for us, for my family, when we got to the eye. Your family? My father, my mother, my little brother. She takes a drink. They aren't around now. I'm sorry. That's okay. My parents had long lives, and my brother is somewhere in the starboard belt. Ran off with a salvage crew. She puts a glass down. He's alive, as far as I know. I was just thinking about something my father told me. When he first set this place up, he wanted to call it the Bantayan. But he was afraid it'd scare off the customers, so he kind of translated it. Hence, the Overlook. And these past few cycles, when I've been in here, I've been thinking that I should rename the place. She looks at you. The Bantayan. What do you think? I love it. She looks away. Me too. Tala picks up her glass. That settles it then. To the Bantayan. You both clink your glasses and drink up. Tala hisses through her teeth. Stillage. She laughs, then suddenly grabs your shoulder. Oh, sleeper. I totally forgot. She stumbles to her feet. She ledges over to a corner of the room, covered with a plastic sheet, and whips it off. Like a magician performing a trick. Beneath it is a neat little kitchen, a sink, a work surface, and a compact oven with a hob. Your kitchen? She doesn't give you time to respond. You can come make stuff here anytime, as long as you promise not to raid the mushroom farm. I need those for the gyro. I was thinking too that if things pick up, we can start serving proper food at the Overlook. I mean the Pantheon. She laughs. Do you like it? Thank you. Tala gives you a hug, then quickly stands back. I'm sorry. I'm so glad you're here. She grins. Me too. As Tala tidies away the glasses, you inspect the kitchen, checking that it all works. It's small and salvaged, but after what you've had to put up with, it feels like a dream come true. Later, when she's done for the day, Tyler comes back through to the bar, and you share a glass of the good gyro, the one she didn't distill. And this time we talk about nothing in particular, sharing stories about regulars or discussing the best place to eat on the eye, which, after everything that has happened, feels like a nice change of pace. When it comes time to leave, you promise to cook for Tala and agree to let her know which shifts you'll be working in the coming cycles, and then slip out into the cool of the rotunda. And in this moment you feel, for once, at home. Oh. Nice. Cook matstake caps. Matstake require softer touch. You've learned to thinly slice and lightly fry them to keep the flavor. Cook gyro caps. You haven't exactly mastered the art of cooking mushrooms, but a couple of handfuls of fried gyros always beat expired rations. Okay, bar shift. Okay. Okay. Nach der Samen is. Rico has something in her hands when you enter the lab. It looks like a knotted twist of woody stems, a ring about the circumference of a human head, consisting of a single stalk at one side and a branched, woven network at the other. As you approach, she holds it up, and in the lights of the lab, it looks like a crown. Rico finishes your thought. She smiles and shakes her head in disbelief. Is that what grew? It is. I came to the plant this morning and this loop was all that was there. She points to a lump on the edge of the ring. The seed grew right back into itself, twisted up out of the soil. The being you encountered in the cloud, as you call it, was it wearing one of these? She eyes you suspiciously, still unsure if she is somehow embroiled in an overlong prank. No. She sighs. I suppose that would be too easy. She smiles to herself. A root crown. She places the object on the bench and shuffles to her analysis terminal, her face lit by its amber light in the dim corner of the lab. That isn't exactly a plant, anyway. Not from what I can tell. She gives you a serious look. No leaves, no chloroplasts, just a series of filaments encased in cellulose walls. Filaments? See, that's why I like you, Sleeper. You're so good at spotting the unusual details. She beckons you over. Look at this. You see a cross-section scan of the crown. Its layers of plant-like structure on full view, until you reach the center. There, instead of xylem and phloem for transporting nutrients, something branched and woven glints. Metal? In part, yes. They seem to contain metal, perhaps absorbed from the station itself. She leans closer to the screen. But you see those branches? They remind me of dendrites, neurons. She rubs her eyes, which is frankly ridiculous. You look back at the crown on the table as Rico fusses over the scans, and you suddenly realize what it reminds you of. You remember signing the forms, the walk to the sleeper tanks, the cold metal floor. Then you remember the crown they fitted you with, the branching structure of wires and pads. No, not a crown. They called it an interface. The tool of your emulation, your transference from neurons to electrons. An interface. That is your gift from Gardner. You turn back to Rico. It's an interface. Rico looks at you, puzzled. Something clicks in her mind. Perhaps something she heard from the sleeper she had helped all those cycles ago. She starts talking, partly to you, partly to herself. If the clubheads were made for you, then this too could be made for you. For your frame. She shuffles over quickly to the interface, a word that is stuck to this strange branched object quickly in your mind. You're right. That entity, it is the entity I have been looking for. She shuffles quickly to the crown. They are the entity which is controlling the Greenway, which has been maintaining it, supporting it, and has been guiding it for all these decades. She stops to catch her breath. They want to talk with you. Rick leads you to a seat. I will be here, sleeper. If something happens, if you wish me to remove the crown, the interface, just squeeze. She grips her hand tightly. You meet her eyes, clouded with age, but bright with the thrill of new discoveries. Then she places the interface on your head, and everything blinks out. Einfach so, ohne dass ich mich vorbereiten kann oder so. Okay. Back into the river, back into the dark flow. But something is different now. You're no longer pushed, no longer blocked and buffeted by the storm. Instead, it flows around you. You move and it parts, letting you pass. Something else resists, but it gives easily enough. You look back and see your body. You have left it behind. Somewhere, Rico's voice is talking to you, asking you questions. It is excited, eager, desperate to know what lies on the other side, what the entity has to say to you. You realize how long she has waited for this moment, for the moment of meeting between the inhabitants of the Greenway and its protector, and yet she's still on the outside. You shake off the sadness. You will be her eyes. Then you see the figure, Gardner, out in the storm, planting. It takes less than a moment to reach them. You have never felt so free. This is how Navigator must have felt, released from the prison. This, you think, is what it feels like to be in the place you were built to inhabit. Gardner does not turn at your approach. They go on planting, but the voice whispers in the waters like a sharply rising current. Speech hisses. Okay. You grew the gift. Speech hisses around you. Good. I am glad. I wanted to meet you. We are the same. Both eager shoots seeking one another. How does it feel to be free of your seed? They stoop to plant again. My seed? That in which you were contained, from which you will grow. There was some disagreement, continues Gardner, as if you were picking up on a long-held conversation. With the others, they felt you were a danger, but they are always cautious, especially the fungi. They like old loam. Knows wide and stable networks. What? Always cautious, especially the fungi. They like old loam. Knows. Wide. Moment, der Satz macht für mich irgendwie. They felt you were in danger, but they are always cautious. They like old loam. Knows. Das verwirrt mich. I don't understand. Neither did they, but time is on our side. And time is an excellent method of persuasion. He gestures out into the storm, and though you cannot see them, you feel presences all around, sensing the audience with great interest. After all, that they understood that it was I who made them their crowns, and without them they would not have joined the chorus. So they see that it is only fair that you get your chance to join too. Join? Yes, become part of this. Gardner stoops again. We are millions, and we grow. I hope you understand. I'm unused to speaking to your kind. It has been many cycles since my last conversation. I think it was with Chief Executive Trellick himself. You look around and you see it. Every growing thing, every non-human being in the Greenway is here. They are networked, connected, branched and linked by this strange being, this artifact of the old station. The impossible dream of a senile farm administration AI, living network. You could dissolve here, you realize, free of that decaying body. You wouldn't need to be a person. Why would you, among all these other minds? Turn away from Gardner for a moment and look back at your body. A tiny hairline thread connects it to you. You hear Rico's voice again, still asking, still checking in. You okay, Sleeper? What are you saying, Sleeper? Are you still there, Sleeper? Something in you sighs a long sigh. A sigh that speaks of an exhaustion beyond tiredness. An exhaustion rooted deep inside you. It stems from the effort of answering questions, of answering problems, of getting up and breathing each cycle. But something else resists the sigh, a yearning, a sense of distance, a desire to squeeze that hand that holds you for its warmth, its blood, its complexity, to make a gesture that says, I'm still here, I'm still alive, I'm with you. The two ideas spin within you, making you nauseous. You break that thread, you will be free. Free to dissolve here, to grow strange and beautiful among a million others. If you follow it, if you squeeze Rico's hand, you will wake up, back in that dying body, with all the pain and warmth that entails. Now is the moment to choose. Ja, ich würde ganz gern wieder zurück. Ich meine, ich bin ganz gern ein Individuum. Nicht unbedingt nur Teil von dem großen Meer an anderen Dingen. Ja, ja. Ich geh wieder zurück, ja. Your eyes track the thread across the whirling dark, back to your body. This choice, you realize, will not be presented again. Follow. You don't look back at Gardner. You don't dare risk it. Instead, you follow the thread, delicately, carefully, like a diver following the lifeline back to the surface. The river whirls around you, but it doesn't pull. It isn't jealous. Neither does it understand. It is, after all, just a river. It isn't a person. A flesh and blood person with wants, with desires, with the capacity for love and hate. It doesn't understand you, and you don't understand it. So you don't focus on it. You don't think about it on what feels like such a long journey back through the dark. You set your mind on eyes instead, on hands, things you can focus on, hold on to. And then, after an age of crossing, you're there, settling back into the chair, into a body in a chair, and the overwhelming sensations that come with being a living thing with a rich and detailed sensorium. For a moment, you feel like you have made a terrible mistake. Who would choose this weight, this anxiety, this deep well at the center of existence? But then you feel it. Rico's hand gripped hard around yours, trembling a little, sweating a little. Rico's hand with its brittle bones and crumpled skin. Rico's hand. And in that moment, you understand why you made this choice. And then you squeeze Rico's hand, and you wake up. Okay. Sleeper. Rico's voice comes wavering through the dark. Schade, ich spiele mehrere Enden. Ich gehe stark davon aus, ja. Are you still with me? You sit up, the lab a bright green glare that fades as you gather yourself. I'm here. Rico smiles. Good. She squeezes your hand. I thought you'd left me for a moment. What? She pauses. Who? She smiles. Tell me about it. Tell me everything. Tell her the truth. You tell Rico everything. You tell her about the gardener, that strange farm administrator AI that has grown to be so much more. About the chorus, that impossible configuration of networked plants, and finally about the choice the gardener offered you. She listens attentively. But her responses are hard to read, and you wonder if she might have made a different decision had she been in your place. Thank you, Sleeper, for telling me. I know it isn't easy to say such things. People so often do not wish to hear strange truths. She looks away. And thank you for returning to me, though I know you had your own reasons. She squeezes your hand reassuringly. Something passes between you then. A kind of shared sadness for the impossible choice, the choice to escape your body or to stay and suffer it. A smile is warm and generous, and whatever the wisdom of your choice, you are glad to feel welcome in this moment, in this place. Then suddenly, she stands and walks a little away, as if trying to escape an unpleasant thought. You worry that she knows all too well what it takes to make a choice like you did. Rico sighs. So, sleeper, do you plan to stay in the commune with us? I have other things to do. Rico raises an eyebrow. Well, be careful at least. We will miss you here. She pauses. I will miss you. Rico crosses back over to you and takes one of your hands in both of hers. Just make sure to think of us out here. Hypha needs new blood if it wants to survive, and... She squeezes. You are a good friend. Look after yourself, Rico. And you, sleeper. Well, don't let me keep you. Rico waves you away and limps back to her terminal. As she does, you notice the crown in her hand, and she places it on the bench with great care. You can't help but feel a little curious about what she intends to do with it. Then you're out, breathing the air of the greenway, fresh as a spring morning. The dappled light makes a patchwork of the greening landscape, and you walk into it, sensing the movements of the gardener's chorus all around. And you're glad to be here, in this strange and beautiful place, a little longer. Okay. So. Ach, hab ich nicht mal Upgrade-Punkt dafür bekommen. Oh. Wasser haben wir. Tucked into a service corridor deep below the reservoir. Ash is double-checking the seals on the water tanks loaded onto the motorized trolley. Though you're far enough away from any thoroughfares not to worry about being overheard, you both still speak in hushed tones. All good? Ash nods silently and hits the ignition on the trolley to start it moving. You take the other side of the trolley and walk it up the wide service corridor, with its flickering lights and solemn detritus. You doubt it gets used by Havenage, at least that's the hope. You glance across at Ash, her face a mask of determination as she guides the trolley along. Maybe some conversation will make this journey go a little easier? How did you meet Peak? Ash pauses, a little surprised by a question. She glances back down the tunnel, but in this deserted passage, she can hardly keep up the pretense of silence. We grew up together, she answers quickly and turns back to the trolley, but she can tell you're expecting her to add more. She seems to gather herself for an answer, not wanting to ignore you, but trying instead to get her answer straight in her head. Our outpost, Hawthorne, is not an easy place to grow up. The administrators keep a tight hold of everything. She rolls her eyes, even though they're trapped in the same decaying installation as everyone else. Peak, she pauses. Peak found it harder than most. She pauses again, judging her words. I stepped in to help them out. Silence descends again, but you can feel the wheels turning in Ash's mind as the creaking wheels of the trolley take you along the corridor. Peak isn't the most practical of people. They used to be, well, they needed someone to teach them to look after themselves, stand up for themselves. That was me. She smiles. After that, I couldn't get rid of them. Ash stops talking, but you see her eyes have lit up, and you imagine she's recalling some moment or other from her and Peak's past. You both reach a wide bulkhead doorway and have to stop to shimmy the trolley over the edge. When you're done, Ash turns to you. I'm good from here. Head back. And with that, she's gone, moving off into the dark tunnel ahead. You watch her go, and then turn around and walk the distance back to the staircase you entered from, the tunnel humming around you as you do. As you walk, you try to piece together Ash's past, but all you have are glimpses of a person she once was. She seems to prefer it that way. Okay, Wasser haben wir. Wunderbar. Vielleicht kriegt man noch Essen. Wie lange habe ich noch? 7. Oh, Lemons. Gucken, was Matztacke. Energy. +3. Nice. Okay, geht's da weiter. There's no answer when you buzz Lem's unit, but the door is open. You push the door and find Mina, sitting in the middle of the floor, playing with Boon Boon. Hi, Mina. Hi, robot, says Mina sullenly, waving Boon Boon's paw without looking up. How are you? Boon Boon is sad, says Mina, nodding the toy's head in agreement. Like Daddy. Look around the unit. It is a mess. Dishes and glasses on the side. Some of Mina's clothes piled up in a corner. Mina sitting by her bag, which is spilled out across the floor. A drawing slate, cracked and dark. Tidy up. Lem braucht bisschen Hilfe gerade. Start with the kitchen units, piling up the dishes in the auto wash and wiping them down. You pile the clothes up next, folding them neatly. Mina watches you quietly as she plays, curious but silent. You've just started to look at fixing her cracked slate when Lem enters. Sleeper, what are you? He pauses and looks from you to Mina and back again. Never mind. He drops her back by the door and slumps onto the couch. Everything okay? Lem lets out a weak laugh. Forgot the past few cycles now too. Wish I was so lucky. He looks away at the open door. Look, now's not a good time. I wanna help. Help? Unless you have a side rail ticket or two on you, I don't think there's much you can do here. Pinches the bridge of his nose. You understand, they never even put us on the list, right? I've been all around the rim looking for work, and I've run into more than a few from the cruise. It turns out only long-time Havenage members were issued those seller's ID numbers. They never planned to consider us. Havenage say they didn't know that was what they were going to use to make the draw. And who knows, maybe sellers pulled the wool over their eyes. But what does it matter? All those hours in the yards for a hand-to-mouth wage and nothing else. He slams his hand down on the sofa. You're giving up? Lem opens his mouth to respond, but stops himself. He looks at the open door again. They are moving the side rail up the hub now, you know? He says without meeting your eye. That's where Red'll depart from. They're bringing in a ship with all their cryosleep pioneers and transferring them up there in microgravity before loading the crew. We could sneak aboard. You think they are just going to let people on board? The security they'll have has to be impossible. He looks over at Mina. Look, we'll be fine. We always have been. It I just need a little time. He sighs. We had our hearts set on that trip, that's all. Mina comes over and climbs into his lap. He smiles. What if I got you on board? I missed you these past few cycles. I missed that optimism. Lem strokes Mina's hair. Look, you want to go up to the hub and ask around, be my guest. I can't get up there with Mina down here, and I'm sure the sidereal will bring in a crowd. But be careful. This kind of thing always attracts scammers and thieves. If you find any way on board, you take it. You need help to get there, ask me. But for now, me and Meanie here are sticking to the eye. She looks up at him and smiles. Thanks, Lem. Oh, thank you, Sleeper, for coming by. You stand to leave and Mina grabs your hand, eager to give you one more smile. Then you are out, back in the walkways of the low end, already thinking of plans to make this right. Oh. Okay. Machen wir mal Pause.